patrons of the Red Lagoon, to those gathered at the Circle Perilous, and to all the defenders of this broken land, welcome to episode 32 of Arakko Public Radio for the week of March 29th. We're the casual X-Men chat show where we chat everything happening in Marvel's Mutants every single week. I'm Rod, and this is the Rod of Earth 69, my one and only co-mega mutant, Keegan. There's a lot of multiversal stuff going on this week, so I figured time to pull that joke out.
That's a good one. I like it.
So we're filming this the night before you leave for WrestleMania 39.
Yes, that is correct.
How excited are you?
Extremely excited. Right now, me and my group of friends, we only have tickets for night one, but we're hoping some day of releases or something to get some night twos. But,
so you have the work schedule figured out that you could stay both nights if a chance comes up?
So I took Monday off. We all took Monday off. So we're gonna see night one no matter what. We're gonna try to get tickets to night two. If not, then we're just gonna watch it in the hotel room and head back Monday.
This is news to me. You hadn't told me this part. Yeah. I am so rooting for you to get that Sunday night ticket.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay, the other trick I've read online, this isn't for tickets to the show, but okay, so I'm assuming you're not in the floor seats that get the commemorative chair, right?
Right.
Okay, so on your way out, if you hang out by the exits and have $50 cash on you and offer it to everybody coming out, most of those people go to enough of those shows, they don't care for the commemorative seat.
Huh.
So if you want that folding chair, I've always wanted WrestleMania. I've always told myself if I'm ever in town,
WrestleMania folding chair.
Yeah, if I'm ever in town, I'm gonna try that trick because apparently, I've seen people on Reddit every year talking about how they've had success doing that. So
interesting.
Consider it. Consider trying to get yourself that chair.
Yeah, I might.
All right. This week we're talking about Sabretooth and the Exiles #5, Betsy Braddock Captain Britain #2, Deadpool #5. And then going around the Marvel Universe with X-Men Unforgiven #1. And then we're talking some Dugan Iron Man. So where you want to go first?
Do we want to start with probably my favorite issue of the week and do Sabretooth?
Let's do Sabretooth. It was my favorite too, don't worry.
Excellent.
Sabretooth and the Exiles #5, written by Victor Laval, drawn by Leonard Kirk, picks up right where last issue left off, with Graydon Creed standing over a beaten, bloodied Sabretooth in front of a wall of decapitated multiversal Sabretooth heads. He recounts how he was revived back in Greg Pak's Weapon X run. Basically, Sabretooth was in a nice guy phase, sacrificed himself, and for some reason that's motivating Graydon to want to kill him now. I don't know. It really was just a flashback, didn't explain why that's his motive. Sabretooth assumes that his exiles will save him, but instead, a group of 3 new alt-Sabretooths barge in. They all brawl, and then Third Eye shows up, not offering help, but asking for it. Back in Station 4, the weird babies from last issue are still lashing out. Nanny has a plan, though. The Sabretooths who chased off Graydon consider leaving our Victor to fend for himself, but remove the Barrington coil to restore his healing factor, and then leave him to seemingly chase Graydon. Graydon revives an army of headless Sabretooths to do his bidding. In Station 4, Nanny finally reveals her plan to turn the rest of the Exiles cognitively into babies so that the test subject babies aren't threatened anymore. Peter sees how this is dangerous. The Sabretooths trio find Graydon's multiversal travel device and try to go back instead of chasing Graydon, but Graydon's headless army finds them anyways. They seem outnumbered until our Sabretooth shows up, healed up and ready. Graydon gets thrown into the portal, and Sabretooth announces he has a proposal for the trio. The Exiles, meanwhile, manage to escape Station 4, though apparently Nanny made the choice to stay behind with the babies, which is red flag #1. Necra promises to keep them all safe and reveals she still has the Death Seed that she was given at the end of the first Sabretooth miniseries in case Sabretooth tries to come after them. Sabretooth, on the other hand, has a new, better team of Exiles. His 3 doppelgangers and the Headless Army. And they're going after someone's birthday celebration. Okay, loved the issue. Yeah. I've got some questions. But I didn't really go into it. So I want to talk about the 3 new Sabretooths because they were cool.
Yeah.
So one of them is labeled as from Earth 12. So Earth 12 is the same universe Mimic comes from. It's supposed to basically if the Marvel Universe was Silver Age DC, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And so this Sabretooth, he reminds me of Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat. Like he's like the Hollywood legend with the red glasses, and he's the cool Sabretooth, right?
Yeah.
Celebrity bad boy, but still a serial killer, I guess. I don't know.
The Miz of Sabretooths.
Yeah. Another is Earth 203, which isn't a world that has any context. But in this world, apparently Sabretooth is Captain America, which either means he's the very, very nice Sabretooth, or Earth 203 is the worst possible Earth. And I loved his title is he's the Sentinel of Rough, with rough in italics, justice. Rough justice.
I
And
thought that
then
was
Earth
great.
1912 Sabretooth is like a Savage Land cave woman type Sabretooth. Has like a belt of teeth and an enamel head. And just from a quick Google search, also first like time Earth 1912 has been mentioned. But I like the idea of having a female Creed on the team if we are getting this is the new Exiles team.
Yeah, a Victoria Creed, if you will.
That's exactly what they're going to call her. You're right.
Yeah.
The other important thing to note is we were told like they'll be back. Unlike the end of the first one where we got told specifically the name of the next book, we weren't told when or where or any of that, but we were told, hey, there'll be more at least. So you said this was your favorite of the week?
Absolutely. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought there was a lot of good payoff while still setting up what's to come.
Absolutely.
And I had a lot of fun with the Sabretooths, the victors. Like that was fantastic for me.
It's interesting because I feel like in general I'm multiversed out. Like Marvel needs to chill. DC needs to chill with their multiverse too, but like Marvel needs to clamp down the amount of multiversal stuff going on in general. I don't know if you had told me, hey, we're gonna get Sabretooth verse now, I would have been like, oh yeah, we need one more. But I do really like all three characters that were added are all really great. It is interesting because it kind of changed the entire premise in the last issue. Like I feel like suddenly we weren't dealing as much with the hey, here's the parallels with real world like genocide, and instead daddy issues on a multiversal level was a really big switch to be flipped. But it worked. It was a ton of fun. This issue was fantastic.
Well, and also like they still connected it to some like real world history and everything with the Maroons data page.
Yeah, that data page, I had to Google that. That was less stuff I recognized, but it did still have the real world connection.
And the last line of that data page, I was just kind of like, ooh, okay, just we survived the Sabretooth War.
Yeah. Nanny has a baby army now, we assume. That's not a thread that could be left.
And they even right? No, not at all. I mean, they even mention themselves like, hey, this is not great situation for us to be leaving behind, but I guess we'll do
it. Peter suddenly is like using teen lingo, so I guess he's really growing up, which horrifying. Okay, so I feel really dumb. I got all excited thinking like, oh, the birthday reference? Maybe he's talking about Krakoa's birthday, the Hellfire Gala, blah, blah, blah. But no, he just means Wolverine. He's just going after Wolverine. Because he always messes with Wolverine on his birthday.
Yeah.
I'm a little bummed. I'm a little bummed that it's not something bigger, but it'll still be cool. Except, is the next Victor Laval miniseries gonna cross over with Percy?
I was having such a good day. I hope not. I hope that this is just one of those cases where they're like, you know what? Wolverine's allowed to do whatever he wants when he wants.
Yeah. That's fair. But which angle is the next series gonna take? Are we gonna deal with the nanny situation? Are we gonna be going up against Wolverine? Are we gonna be dealing with Graydon, who apparently just got punted into the multiverse, so he's coming back eventually.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, since they haven't told us anything about it yet, as far as I can tell, maybe the next one will be like a Sabretooth versus the Exiles, and it follows both storylines, then converges.
Oh, yeah. You know that's like the easiest promotional thing ever. Is you just keep the same logo, but you have
Yeah.
the and like spray painted over with verse. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's super easy. I bet you that's exactly what they do. It becomes Sabretooth versus the Exiles. Good call.
I'd like that. I think that'd be a fun way to keep it going.
Same. I think that'd be really cool.
But I'll tell you, like, these two separate minis making one longer story, I'm loving it so far.
Oh, it's been fantastic. And I know it kind of now is disconnected from the overall timeline because this took place right after the first one. So like in universe time, this story happened a while ago. But
Mm-hmm.
it's some of the best storytelling in all of Krakoa. We talked last week about how poorly it's doing in the sales and what like a crime that is.
Yeah.
But I feel like one more mini series will give us 15 issues, and that's enough for them to immortalize it with a hardcover and like make it actually like a series. So I really
Yeah.
hope they give it the one more mini, and then it gets like a compendium style like collection to make it a definitive story because it deserves it. It's
Absolutely.
been so good.
Because I think either of these miniseries would just do well as their own trades as is. Like, they would read really well as like a standalone
Absolutely.
trade.
And I'm really curious if that's what's prompting them to keep going, if maybe Sabretooth, because they did really poorly in singles as well, but maybe the trade, like word of mouth, it sold well that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you understand Graydon's motive better than I did? Because it seemed really weird. They specifically showed the flashback of, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you were really nice to me, and you sacrificed yourself to save me, so now you have to die. And I mean, maybe it's just that Graydon is a psychopathic piece of shit, but
I don't know. Like, I truly don't.
well, because that was the like when they had the inversion of the good guys and the bad guys. So Sabretooth was like more heroic, so he made the choice to sacrifice himself to save Graydon. And then when we saw him come back, like he crawled out as just like feral Sabretooth, and then got his personality back and was a bad guy again. And then it just seemed weird to reference that specifically and then be like, and now I kill you. Like,
I
not that
mean,
I'm upset about it, but it
yeah.
did confuse me a little.
I guess, maybe he enjoyed hell more than he enjoys life, or maybe
Yeah.
it's been really bad because, I mean, his exact phrasing when he's talking about it is, he says, "You thought you were being noble. You should have left me there."
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I guess it could either be read as, he preferred hell, or he is just so twisted and evil that it was a mistake to bring him back.
I could see either. It rubbed me the wrong way. Like it would have been cleaner to just leave that out and just have him just want to get dad. Like
Yeah.
to bring up that random piece of history from 2018, which I guess is probably the last time we saw him. But sometimes I feel like they unnecessarily shackle themselves to continuity when you can just have an ambiguous reset of the character have happened in the last few years.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we haven't got an announcement of a time frame yet, but maybe within the next month or two, it'll show up on solicitations.
Mm-hmm.
We've already got what is it, June's solicitations that it's not on there, so maybe July we can hope for Sabretooth for the Exiles #1.
Yeah.
There will be a wave of Fall of X books, like they do it every year and a half or so, where you get a ton of #1s for 2 or 3 months in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So fingers crossed that's on that list.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's right around there because I want more. I love this story and I'd like to see it continue.
Captain Britain.
Captain Britain.
Captain Britain, Betsy Braddock #2, written by Teeny Howard, drawn by Vasco Georgievi. The Captain Britain Corps is still in the heat of battle with Morgan Le Fay's Furies. As we found out last issue, Le Fay wants her own Captain Britain, and when none of the Corps take her bait, she just sort of leaves the fight. Rachel and Betsy Sherlock that shit and figure out she's going after a non-Corps member, but that they'd have to be like humanoid and pass for a Earth 616er. And so they land on through Rachel or Oksani's like powers that the best candidate is Captain Carter's friend Lizzie Braddock, So off to Earth 76 they go. A page recaps most of last year's Captain Carter mini. Any chance you read that?
I don't think so.
Okay. It was okay. It was good. Not great. But all you really need to know is instead of Steve Rogers and America, basically it's Peggy Carter who gets the serum and then gets frozen, and she eats Curly Whirlies. Lizzie has telekinetic powers and works for Strike. She's hanging in her kitchen when Morgan Le Fay shows up, but luckily Rachel and Betsy show up at the exact same time. They all brawl. Captain Carter shows up and they defeat Morgan enough that she runs away, though Lizzie is hurt enough that she's like unconscious, gets hospitalized. Morgan goes home and decides to go after Captain Carter instead. Ruben shows up and informs her that the Furies would really rather just go to war, and all this like scheming shit not really their cup of tea. Morgan just rebuffs him. Betty and Captain Carter discuss their respective roles. Captain Britain doesn't represent the government in any way, much to Captain Carter's surprise. Captain Carter takes a nap in Lizzie's hospital room. She's entranced by Morgan Le Fay, and a wicked fight ensues. Like, one of the best fights of the year. And before Betsy uses her psychic knife to free her. The captains make peace, but then we see that Morgan Le Fay has moved on to her next scheme. Instead of replacing just Captain Britain, she's replaced the entire Captain Britain Corps with a new Captain Britain Corps that's just the Furies painted with the Union Jack on them. Which we talked last issue about how like it's weird how blatant they're going with just like it's the baddies, and like I feel like as cool as those looked, they're really hammering home this Britain is the bad guys thing. And
yeah,
I guess I was gonna say, could you imagine if they did the same with like American imagery? But we did have Norman Osborn as the Iron Patriot, so I guess they have done similar.
that's true.
And they did look cool. The Furies
Yeah.
with the Union Jack was awesome. What'd you think of this issue? I remember like issue 1, we were like, it was good, but it sure was weird. How'd you feel about this one?
You know, I enjoyed myself again. Like, it was good. I think I just get less interested and less involved in the Captain Britain stuff of anything.
Yeah.
I
want to say I feel like probably this was some of the most interested I've been in. Like I like this better than anything Knights of X. Like
yeah, oh, absolutely.
I feel like having them go multiversal, having them bring in Captain Carter, who I'm not like the world's biggest fan of, but it's mixing it up enough for me that I'm into it more than I have been. And like it's well written. I like the way Teenie Howard writes stuff.
Yeah.
I have an issue that I feel like got amplified by a specific conversation in this, but like, how many times do we have to repeat the story of like they sure don't like her as Captain Britain? Man,
Right.
they sure wish her brother was still Captain Britain. Like I feel like this is like the third or fourth story that's literally just been that of like, man, Britain sure doesn't like their captain when it's a woman. And
yeah.
like they made the point of her pointing out to Morgan, they're like, it's been years, Morgan. And I guess with the sliding Marvel timeline, I didn't really think of it in that context. I still think of her as like new, but because it was only at the beginning of the Krakoan era that she became Captain Britain. But because of the Hellfire galas, they are treating it as like real time ish.
Yeah,
It's weird to me. Why are they? How many times does she have to save their ass before they're like, oh, maybe the captain can have a vagina. It's okay.
I definitely get what you mean. Like it's a weird thing for it to still be a problem if it's been I mean at all, obviously, but also if it's been as long as it seems to have been. But I also think like all things considered, it's the biggest issue I have fitting X-Men into Marvel is the timeline stuff because of the Hellfire Gala. So
I love the galas. I really wish they didn't specify they were annual.
Yeah.
Like in universe, it should just be like when we want to throw a party, we throw a party, and like leave it an ambiguous amount of time. I don't know if you were reading Doctor Strange, but Steven just came back to life, and they kind of talk about it like he wasn't dead for very long, but Clea was at the last Hellfire Gala with the like, yo, if you have this revival stuff, why won't you just bring it? it doesn't work when other comic books don't tell a full year's worth of stories between the two galas, and then the characters go to the
Yeah.
galas, and then like in the X-Men time, it has been a year. It makes it so sloppy. And this is a great
Yeah,
example of that. It makes it really hard to buy in.
yeah, because like sometimes, the last time Cap saw Scott was the Hellfire Gala, and it's been a year. But also, no, we actually saw you months ago, but it was actually the issue that came out with the Hellfire Gala for Captain America or whatever, right? It's like one of those kind of things.
Well, or like, do you remember Amazing Spider-Man had like we saw it happen at the Hellfire Gala, and it was like, and find out Spider-Man's side of the story in 4 months, like.
And then Dark Web.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like my biggest issue with like the X stuff fitting into Marvel.
I agree, and after you saying that and me throwing it out there, I really do think the cleanest answer is just remove the annual stipulation from the Hellfire Gala. It can be annual in real time, but in universe, just say the gala. The gala. We have an important announcement, like gala. It doesn't need to be annual.
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be a time frame attached.
Not only that, but I think if they took the annual off of it, you could have like a really cool like winter gala, and then everyone's in like really fancy winter clothes instead and stuff like that. It'd just be a little more.
That's
freeing.
true. I mean, people still go crazy for every outfit, but it's true that like they're all just ball gowns. Whereas you could start having themed galas.
Yeah, I think
a winter themed one would be really cool. People would go crazy if they did like full on like the bikini gala on the beach, like.
Yeah. I think it's an easier way to address it and fix it. It won't happen that way, obviously, but
especially now that they're doing the real world version at SDCC every year at San Diego Comic-Con. But you know what else that is that I don't think people have really talked about? That is a security policy to keep Krakoa around.
Yes.
You can't go back to the mansion and be like, Hellfire prom. Like, that would be stupid.
You know what else it is? It is the first live event that Arakko Public Radio should be invited to is the SDCC Hellfire Gala as guests.
Okay, but if we get invited, you are the one convincing my wife to let me leave with like month-old twins.
I mean, look. Miracles happen once in a while, if you believe. I believe my good friend Mia Thermopolis taught me that one. So
I think if Marvel gave us an invite, she would not be thrilled about it, but she would have to let us go.
Yeah.
So Marvel, send us some passes to get into the Hellfire. Look, I wear a t-shirt to record this shit. I clean up nice. I would look great in a gala outfit.
I don't clean up nice, but it would make for like really good social media pictures. I'd be like Otis, you know?
Dude. Okay. Wolverine, Cyclops, it would be great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
so we were talking about Captain Britain.
I like the Morgan Le Fay stuff. I like the British politics to an extent. Mm-hmm. And I do like, you know what the best part about this miniseries is that's really weird to say? It has not actually gone to, is it Otherworld? The King Arthur land at all.
Avalon. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but what's the other name for it?
I don't know. I don't care for any of it, so.
No, it is. It's Otherworld.
Okay.
Yeah, Otherworld. Otherworld's the dimension, Avalon's the kingdom, right?
Okay.
Maybe I have it backwards.
I think that's correct.
Whatever it is. Either way, we spent so much time there. I love that we're getting Betsy actually in our world. Except she's multiverse diving.
But yeah, like I don't care for any of the Otherworld Avalon stuff. I've never really cared for it. It gets boring to me.
I like it in doses. I just feel like we've seen everything Teenie Howard has to say about it.
That's a fair assessment.
And I know I talked about this way back when we were doing Knights of X. Kieran Gillen, while Knights of X was coming out, did a way better version of the like King Arthur's as real as you believe it is, and one's in future. And so you'd read them side by side. You'd be like, he's in the same office. Why doesn't he give this shit to them? Like, this is way better. I do have a theory. Avalon Otherworld related, though.
Ooh, what is it?
We're getting all these glimpses of Oksani's, like, power limits and, like, all her cool feats and stuff. Because I think she's going to be the Saturnine replacement. She's the new head of Avalon, whatever, the Starlight Citadel.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
I think that is a cool direction to take Rachel, and opens up for the next writer like something really cool to write about, and puts her potentially at odds with her love interest, because Avalon's best interests and Captain Britain's best interests are always the same, and so it would be cool to see them kind of forced to have that tension.
Yeah, I think so too. No, I'm just trying. Is that Mechagodzilla behind you?
No, this is it's the Walmart Adventure Force. I don't know if you said the cheap Mechagodzilla generic ripoff. It was one of Mikey's 4th birthday presents from a distant relative. He just left it up there because I don't know if I've explained this on pod. My office is no longer an office. My office used to be the room next door that is now the nursery for my twins. And so this room that used to be my kid's playroom is now what we are referring to as the bro room. And that was the sales pitch, to trick him into letting us take half the room to be my office and half to be his playroom. And he loves it. He loves the idea that Daddy and him have this room that just us share.
I mean, but anyways, it's a good sales pitch.
Oh, absolutely. He just left this on my desk, but it is pretty cool.
It is very cool.
For being a generic, it's neat.
Yeah. I was looking at it and I was like, that's not the dragon sword. Maybe that's Mechagodzilla.
I think it is, like, it's supposed to imply, I think it's just called, like, giant robot T-Rex, but it's clearly supposed to be Mechagodzilla, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Deadpool, number 5. Written by Alyssa Wong, drawn by Martin Coccolo. The Harrower is overjoyed at having a new Cletus Cassidy / Carnage. So much so, she flirts with him immediately until Doc Ock is, like, grossed out and clearly jealous. Cletus and Wade, who, remember, is still, like, the lower half, like, they're just 2 torsos attached to the legs since he gave birth to him, and then, banter before Cletus angrily rips them apart, which causes Deadpool to give birth to a second symbiote. This one, a giant dog that immediately eats Cletus. After their escape at the end of last issue with their arm ripped off, Valentine Vuong is at the atelier where the arm's been repaired, and they're getting lectured by the leader, the Horned Emperor, and both death strikes until they reveal that Doc Ock took the hit out on himself, and that only they could figure out why. So they go with Lady Deathstrike, who wants, like, revenge. Meanwhile, Deadpool and Renesmee, which is what he'd named the symbiote when it was in him, and now that's what he's calling the dog, bond until Harrower attacks with a dog of her own, and they brawl. And then Otto is like, you know what? I'm not in it just for revenge. I'm out. He tries to leave, but on his way out, he's stopped by Valentine and Lady Deathstrike, who confront him about his insider atelier knowledge. Valentine joins Deadpool and Renesmee to finally beat Harrower, blowing up the entire fucking lab. Deadpool's upset, thinking the dog is dead, but then the dog shows up, having survived the explosion, and he saved Lady Deathstrike, so he's, like, dragging her out by the mouth. Deadpool decides to rename her Princess because he doesn't want to get sued. I had to Google it. Apparently, it's a reference to Twilight.
You didn't know that it was the Twilight baby?
I lucked out. I never dated anyone that was super into Twilight, and I managed to avoid Twilight, except for, like, a few of them were showing in the movie theaters when I worked there. And
no, Renesmee is Bella's baby, the one that Jacob imprints on.
I was gonna say the one that, like, makes it all age gappy, gross stuff at the very end.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one.
I mean, at least that is connected to dogs, so that's kind of neat, I guess. But it's still a weird choice. I like Princess better. If we're keeping the character, I'm glad we went with Princess. Harrower then reveals she survived by, like, growing out of one of her blossom things, like she's done the last, like, 3 issues. But more importantly, that there's more symbiotes still inside Deadpool. And Doc Ock gets a package revealing that someone had tipped him off that Atelier was coming after him, that he should place the hit. The Atelier have figured out that Valentine is up to shit. And they send their full forces to kill Valentine and Deadpool. And then we see the 2 letters that Doc Ock got and see that it was Valentine Vong themselves that tipped off Doc Ock to put the hit on Doc Ock. So I said last issue this series was losing me. This one pulled me back in quite a bit. Like, I liked the triple betrayals, and I don't know. It was basic but really fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was like basic, silly, fun, with some good addition. I mean, it's what I like about Deadpool comics.
Yeah.
You know,
without the stuff that's always driven me crazy with Deadpool comics, because there's still none of the like misogyny or any of that stuff.
Yeah,
and actually, like, I find his like adoration for Valentine really, really heartwarming. Like, it's just genuine. He's like genuinely in love with her every time. He's like genuinely in love with him every time we see them. It's really sweet.
And I have to like this issue, like it solidified why I'm enjoying this run.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it reaffirmed my interest because it had started to lose me. I'm very glad that it seems like for now, at least, we're done with the Carnage stuff for a little while, although clearly it's coming back.
Yeah, but Cletus like immediately died.
Cletus being one and done was great, also because I really like where the actual Carnage book is going, and they have a different Cletus alive over there, so I was going to be really frustrated if we just had 2 Cletuses running around. So that was a great bait and switch to just off him right away.
Yep. Fun book.
I enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind if Princess stayed around for a while. I think that's a great cast. I don't know how long Alyssa's planning on sticking around. I know Deadpool supporting casts constantly change with every volume, but if we kept Valentine and Princess for like 20 plus issues, I would be fine with it. Like that, they're a great trio.
I think so too. I think it would be a really good cast to keep for a while. That's about it, though.
I was gonna say, I know we don't usually talk a ton about Deadpool, and I'm like, there isn't layers to unpack with it. It's just fun.
It's light fun, and I'm glad that it's light fun. But you know, at the end of the day, there's not much to say about it aside from the fact that it's fun and it's not too serious, and they made some interesting choices that worked out.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to separate, like, some books we wrap up really quickly and we move on because they're boring or uninteresting. This isn't that. No. This is just really straightforward, so there's not a ton to unpack there. But really enjoyed it. Around the Marvel Universe.
Around the Marvel Universe.
Did you read X-Men Unforgiven? And I'm totally no shame if you didn't.
I did.
Were you confused as hell?
Not even that I was confused as hell. I was just kind of like, okay.
Okay. So, the Unforgiven were literally like a creation of, I think it was Fear itself. Like, it was like Italian there. They were the good guy vampires. It was when Jubilee was a vampire, so you got like that's where the X-Men crossover came in. In the Spider-Man issue, their leader got killed by their new recruit, and so that's why like they're already in mourning and like slowly going feral and angry at the beginning of this one. I don't know why Tim Seeley didn't. I guess probably not Seeley's choice. It's written by Tim Seeley, who I genuinely enjoy most of the time, and I've enjoyed both of these stories. They should have called it the Unforgiven 1, 2, 3, so it was more obvious that people had to read them in order to follow them. Like, it continues next month in Captain America Unforgiven, and like, I don't know. I hate when comics do this confusing naming scheme that doesn't allow casuals to follow.
Yeah, and it all comes back to like one of my biggest problems in comics is when they call a one-shot a number 1.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that like so much. It's a visceral problem of mine.
I assume that has to do with some kind of diamond cataloging thing that they just haven't gotten rid of, because they never don't have a number attached. I've never once seen a one-shot that didn't have the number 1 thrown after it. And I agree with you. It's so utterly confusing to non-comic book people. There's no reason for it. So I feel like it has to be a relic of the 90s or something, like the way they ordered them. They just never fixed it.
Yeah, that's probably it. I just, when you're combining it with this idea of like it's a story told across 3 different books featuring different hero sets and all of that, it's like we don't need to number one each of them.
I'm really convinced that their goal is to use the Spider-Man, X-Men, and Captain America, 3 of their biggest names, to boost sales here as like a launching pad for an eventual Forgiven series.
Mm.
Uh, I don't think that's gonna work if no one knows that the 3 are connected. I also like you didn't meet him. I feel like they killed the most compelling member in the Spider-Man issue, and then expect us to really care. I don't know. But for X-Men, I like Seeley's Jean Grey. I like Seeley's Jubilee. Like, if this was a tryout for Tim Seeley to write more X-Men comics, I'm on board. I don't think that's what it was. I think he's trying to get to write the Vampire Family, but
Mm-hmm.
he wrote some interesting, compelling versions of these characters here. I didn't like his Rogue. His Rogue was kind of lame, but I don't get it really. To be fair, to be completely blunt, I don't understand why this issue exists.
Yeah, and I mean at the same time, like I think Team Seeley is good at writing their characters because guess what? I think Rogue is pretty lame most of the time. So
It's so odd to me that you're anti-Rogue while I'm anti-Gambit.
I know it's like how can I be so right and you be so wrong?
No. Gambit is look. It was probably the most controversial clip I've ever TikToked. So I just want to reiterate: Gambit is a fucking piece of shit, and if he died in a fire, Marvel would throw the biggest Hellfire Gala yet. Like we could party at Gambit being gone. Woo woo, no more Gambit. Woo woo, no more Gambit. Woo woo, no more Gambit.
Who do you hate more, Gambit or the Riddler in the best Batman movie, The
Okay,
Batman?
I was gonna say I actually like the Riddler as a character. It is a
Not
bad
true.
coincidence that the
Not
Tom
true.
King book and if you put Benjamin Percy,
Mhm.
the Nirvana fueled Batman's version of the Riddler,
Yeah.
and any version of Gambit in a room, you gave me one bullet. I'm shooting myself because I can't stand being in a room with any of them. All right.
Okay.
Did you read Iron Man?
No.
All right. It might be my favorite thing Dugan has written this year.
Wow.
It was a really fun issue, mostly because basically it was the end of the first arc, I think. We might actually have one more issue for the arc, but it was the climax. And it was Fei Long with Nimrod and Dr. Stasis at the bell ringing of the New York Stock Exchange. What's the stock exchange where they ring the bell at the start of the day? I think it's the NYSE. And they're like ringing the bell, and be like, "Woo! Stark Unlimited. We're gonna change the world. Woo!" And Tony shows up, and he's basically like, everyone who's ever undermined my business, Justin Hammer, dead. Obadiah Stane, dead. Justine Hammer, dead. You really think you're gonna fare any better? And Fei Long, who Dugan writes as a Elon Musk stand-in, which is what makes it so great, is like, I can't hear you, Tony. I'm too busy ringing the bell. And Tony's like, why don't you meet me outside? And Fei Long's like, okay, let's take it outside. And Stark gets outside. And he's like, I didn't actually think he'd come out here. And Fei Long's like, you don't know my powers. And Stark's like, oh yeah? Fuck your dad. Not really, but like his monologue's all about I could tell he's got daddy issues, and then he riles him up about his dad, and Fei Long like throws a fit, and then Tony just beats the living shit out of him with a parking meter. He pulls a parking meter out of the ground, just beats the snot out of him. It's a great scene, really, really cool stuff. And he leaves him like bloodied, beaten in the street, and he's like, I had to leave because I was gonna kill him if I stayed. And so he flies off to space, and the epilogue reveals just like that obviously Fei Long's not actually beat, and it's like, it cuts to She-Hulk, and she's like, Tony, you need to call me back. Your old company is saying they have the intellectual property rights to your armor, so clearly that's the route they're going. And so it ends with him finally showing up to Krakoa to Emma, and Emma's like, about time you showed up. I've been waiting for you. So it's leading into next issue's the one you're gonna have to read because it's the full-on Emma crossover.
Yeah.
But the Fei Long beatdown scene is one of the best things ever. The delivery is fantastic. And the fact that he's so blatant with it being an Elon Musk stand-in makes it really satisfying to just watch him just get beat down. So good.
I love that. I'll have to check it out just for that alone, honestly.
Well, and I feel like you could skip the first 3 issues because I actually was pretty hard on the series. I was not liking it so far. People kept saying like, "Oh, Dugan's doing an interesting Iron Man." I was like, "Meh, it's okay. It's okay." This issue won me over. It was a ton of fun.
Excellent.
Next week we've got Immoral X-Men #3. So we're finally we took 1 week off, and I'm like, finally back to Sinister. But that's the start of year 1000, so I'm very excited. Wolverine 32 because we just can't escape it. You know what? I'll design this week. I forgot to do it this week, but by next week we'll have our written by Benjamin Percy shirt for sale. And then Rogue and Gambit #2. Anything else, my friend?
That's about it. I mean, at least we get one guaranteed good book next week, and
yeah,
the rest we'll see what happens.
After some peer pressure, we have a Discord server. Join, chat with us, join our tight-knit community. We are a quarter of the way through 2023, so I can't say it anymore, but I really wanted to grow this year, so come join us. Come hang out. Make sure you like us, review us on all the places, follow us, and anything else, tell a friend who you think might enjoy it. I'm that nerdy pop member on all the socials. Keegan is Bulk Ranger. Until next time, remember, adrenaline in my soul. Something, something, co. Mega Mutants!
Yeah!
It would have been better if I could still fucking vocalize it all, but whatever.